What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Third and Longhorn. And it's not every day we switch our setup around, but we have someone in the building that demanded everyone be here today. So
on time, early.
Yeah, trust me, Jeremy Hills has never been on time for one of these episodes, and he was early. He was sitting in his car waiting for this thing to happen.
Got a full tank of gas.
But there are very few people in the history of the Texas program where you can say a nickname and every single person knows who you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And I'm referring to Mr. Jeff Mad Dog Madden. Welcome, Coach.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Go,
it.
Thank you all. Appreciate being here.
Well, we always start these off the exact same way. And the question is, how did you get to Texas? And I know you had a long route here. Could you tell us your story?
Well, how far back you want me to go?
As far back as you want to go.
Yes, exactly.
We'd love to hear it.
It's your time.
I mean, from where I grew up to
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's get this going.
We got
all
time.
right. No, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm an inner city kid, hardcore headbanger. Very fortunate. I went to St. Joe's High School. My parents sacrificed to get me in private school, private Catholic school, and it paid off. We played football, and I figured out I found a way to get out of the ghetto by playing the game. I didn't know. I mean, my education was great because my mom was a big-time education person, just like DJ's mom down there. She pushed you to make sure you were at least 2 to 3 chapters ahead of everybody else in your class. So I was fortunate enough to do that. I learned at an early age from my dad that if you don't get an A or a B, you can't live in a house. You can't live in a house? You can't live in a house.
Like, not even take
So
away.
not only did you take an ass whooping, you can't live in a house.
Okafor would have been out the house so quick.
But understanding that prepared me for my next step, which was college. I was recruited by probably close to 100 schools, just like you guys sitting up here. I had never played the game before. I got in there my junior year. I was a basketball player. I played with a guy by the name of Clark Kellogg, who was a first-round draft pick. Great player, and he's an announcer now. But we were 2-on-2 champions in the city of Cleveland, Ohio, and ran the streets well together, and he was All-American basketball. I was All-American football. And I played guard, offensive guard, and I played nose tackle. I did not play running back, so the internet is wrong. Then what happened was I got injured. And I went to the Cleveland Clinic, and that's the first time I ever touched a weight. And once I started touching weights, I started growing. So not only did I melt down the body fat, I increased my lean muscle mass, and learn through strength comes a tremendous amount of confidence. My dad was a martial arts, so I did martial arts pretty much my whole life. I started in the 6th grade, and did a tremendous amount of martial arts and got great flexibility. And from that point, that helped on the football field. So if y'all wonder why y'all did all the different stuff y'all did, that's why, the flexibility was key, as far as we can talk about yoga and Pilates and all the rest of that stuff later, but right now that wasn't invented back then as far as in colleges teaching. I ended up going to Vanderbilt University for the education. My mom, I thought I was going to Michigan. I was done. I was going to Michigan. I'm from Ohio, but going to Michigan because that's the year that Michigan and Bo Schembechler started defeating everybody, and he wanted me, I wanted to go, and my mom said, "You going to Vanderbilt?" I said, "Mom, they ain't won." They haven't won, but they have a certain amount of Rhodes Scholars. They got more Rhodes Scholars than anybody in college. You're going to be on TV every week. You are going to Vanderbilt or I'm not signing the paper.
Oh, man.
So I went to Vanderbilt.
No say.
Yeah, and had a very interesting time. I met some great people, played some really good games, beat number 2 Florida. So I knew how to come from being old in something to winning a bunch of games. So I learned how to change over. When I was in high school, we lost one game, and that was the state championship. So when I went to Vanderbilt, became an automatic leader amongst those guys because I'm from the hood. I don't keep my mouth shut. You know, I come to work, you know, and we were there to work, you know, and I wasn't worried about what was happening in the stands. I didn't worry about how pretty that girl was over there or this cheerleader here. I worried about trying to find a way to beat that team on the field. And that became a really strong bond with my older teammates. Even as a freshman, I was leading those guys, some of those guys, because they said, this dude, he's okay, you know, and I would fight at a drop of a dime. So I'm not going to tell you a lot. I'm not going to tell you a lot, you know. And what I did was we came together. And the key was, just like I teach you guys, is you have to come together on a common goal. You got offense, defense, special teams, you know, coaches and players coming together with the fist of power, you see, and we use that to move in a particular direction. And that's how we did a lot of the things we did. So what happens is guys on, why did you do this? Why did you do that? We're going to get a lot of that today. I know that. But I want you to understand why and what was the method behind the madness, because there is method behind the madness. When I talk about explosive power, I mean, I learned from the Russians, I learned from the Bulgarians, I learned from people here in the United States, I learned from Olympic lifters, you know, as well as football players, martial artists, and try to tie it all into one, you know, and then you tie it all into one, you have a tremendous weapon, you know, and each one of y'all sitting at this table is a tremendous weapon. You know, Jeremy, I had you when you were 16 and you were coming up here with Tony Hills.
Oh, he said he was enrolled at Texas.
I didn't know he was not enrolled.
Not enrolled, but he was changing up dog words
for the first time.
There's a fight over
he
who
wasn't
the oldest
enrolled,
one on
but
the
he was
podcast
at
is.
Texas.
Dog did not
for the
say
first
that.
time.
Mad Dog, don't let him
anybody
bait you.
else.
He was not enrolled.
He wasn't enrolled.
Fozzy at old
He was
Fox.
there.
He'll bait
He
you.
was not enrolled. He was
there.
at this table, just like we at this table, but he sat at the end of the table, and we worked everything inside the table, and he mimicked what we did on the outside. You know, because his big brother was here, you know, and he followed the footsteps, you know. And as I look at each one of y'all, and I'm sitting here, you know, I remember y'all coming in the door. I remember recruiting you. I remember spending time with your parents. I remember your mom and how great of a person she was. I remember DJ's mom and what a great person she was, and your dad down there, Oak. You know, so I mean, and then Rod Babers, we got old school over here.
That's good.
You know, I remember Rod, you know, on the field just doing great things, doing tremendous things, and fighting a whole lot of different situations to become a great player. You know, and then when you say, I said Jeremy earlier at 16, the reason I said he was 16 because he was, you know, and because Tony said, Coach, can I bring my little brother up here? You know, so I said, yeah, you can bring him up here. I can't coach him one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's illegal to do that. So NCAA, I didn't do nothing wrong. Okay, but you know, as far as him being over there doing every single thing we did, he did it. He tried. He liked it. He worked really hard when he was real young.
Yeah.
And then he got cool. like we all do. Keep it real. We all do. You know, you get to college and people, you know, the women think you're pretty and all that kind of stuff. You got that smile and you want to talk to them and that kind of stuff. So I mean, it was all good because he gave me everything he had at every given opportunity.
Yeah.
Now from Vanderbilt, I went with a guy by the name of Watson Brown, who's Max Brown's older brother. Okay, Watson was my offensive coordinator at Vanderbilt, and we ended up going to the University of Cincinnati. Okay, Cincinnati was beat the year before by Penn State, who won the national championship in 82. Yeah, they won the national championship. We opened with Cincinnati. Okay, I taught those guys differently. Now I was O-line and I did strength and conditioning, but I taught them all different martial arts techniques. I taught them how to bond, you know, semi-wrestling stuff. That was before our wrestling was banned and all that kind of stuff. So I taught them how to fight, you know, and we went into, what's Penn State Stadium? Beaver Stadium. We went into Beaver Stadium after being beat like 66-10 or something like that the year before, and we beat Penn State. Okay, now we open up with a martial arts routine. The whole team on the field, when we do stretch, like we do stretch the first 15 minutes, we had a full martial arts routine. And the daggone stands all clapped and stood up, said, oh, this is great. Those guys are great. You know, even though these are, what does martial arts have to do with football? A whole lot.
Yes.
A whole lot. But anyway, we did that and we beat those guys. And the next day, the headlines on the headlines in the paper said, "Why the Bearcats are barking, the Mad Dog Factor." And I was watching Brown, the Mad Dog Factor, and that started the elevation of the career really fast.
Is that how you got the name?
No, I got the name from college because, you know, if you're tough, you're a dog.
Yeah.
I'm mad, I'm a dog. And my man, Coach McCrone, in the defensive meeting room as a freshman, he said, y'all need to play, as he dipped and spit, like that dang on mad dog over there. You got to be a mad dog to play this game, boys. Yeah. That's what you got to be. I mean, you got to think now, we're in Nashville, we're in the South. Yeah. You know, and when he said that, the guys had already called me that, but when he said that, it really solidified all that. Now, there's been times where I tried to get rid of that nickname, not rid of it, but just move it to the side and say, Coach Madden, you know, and, oh, yes, I'm Jeff Madden. But the recruits don't remember. When recruits come into Texas,
that is true,
and everybody come in there, and they go to all these different schools, seeing all these different people, I'll ask them, well, who's the strength coach here at Tech? Or here's the strength coach at Baylor, or who's the strength coach at OU, or who's the strength coach at LSU, anywhere at USC. They don't know. Well, who's the strength coach? Mad Dog. Yeah. Mad Dog. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And what happened? And what is branding, exactly. But what also happened was when I was at Colorado, I ain't got to Colorado yet. I'll go to Colorado next. Okay, when I went to Colorado, a guy by the name of John Blake, who was ended up being the head coach at OU, said, who is this Mad Dog guy? How in the heck can a strength coach make a difference? How in the heck is a kid talking about going to Colorado because of a strength coach? That don't make no sense. Yeah. You know, so Blake got on the phone and he called me. And he said, I need to speak to Mad Dog. I said, you got it? What's up? He said, you know, it's Coach John Blake, such. He said, you know, man, I want to know what you doing them boys. And I'm like, what you mean? You know, he said, well, what you doing them? So, I mean, this is before athletes were getting paid. Right. You know, so it was all about talking to them, helping them, showing them what you can do for them, you know, trying to get them an opportunity to go to the next level, you know, come to a program, because Colorado had this, it was their first bowl game when I took the job up there. That year we won 11-0. I mean, and we played for a national championship. Next year we won 11-1 and won a national championship. So makes a difference. But it makes a difference on how I try to raise you guys from boys to men. Yeah. That's the difference. The difference is you having a great leader in your program. It wasn't just all about the weights. It wasn't all about just running that daggone hill and pulling those sleds and crawling before you walk. It was all bringing that up together to build that program. Yeah. You know, because I had come from Rice University when I left Cincinnati after we won. I went to Rice with Watson. We didn't do as well, but he was there for 2 years and left and took the Vanderbilt job. Okay, he wanted me to go back with Vanderbilt, but we couldn't go back because the athletic director had just hired a strength and conditioning coach for Vanderbilt who happened to be his daughter's husband. So my option with Watson was to come back and be on the field as an offensive line guy. And I'm like, I didn't want to do that because just like we're sitting here, I touched all of y'all. Yeah, right. True. Every single guy on that team, as opposed to just having a line. Now, if I had a line, that line would have been the toughest line and we'd have been doing everything every single day. But why not have a team? The team is what wins games. Yeah. The team coming together is what makes the difference. You know, my job was to deliver the message that the coaches were giving to you every single day in a way you could understand it. Yeah. You know, because all of us come from different backgrounds. Right. You know, and a lot of us, you know, some of us come with no parents in the household. Some come with just a mom in the household. Some have just a dad in the household. Some don't even have a household. You know, so we've had all kind of guys from all kind of different lives. You know, so all of a sudden you got somebody telling you, do that, do this, do this. And they're like, why you got to do that? We came to play football. You know, but it's a whole lot of things that go on behind the scenes to get you prepared to play football. It's a whole lot, you know, more than most people understand. You know, more than most people are willing to sacrifice. Because what y'all did every single day was a damn sacrifice. You got 3 hots in the cot. What does that mean? You got 3 hot meals, and you got somewhere to lay your daggone head, and you went to school. And that was it. Now, if you're lucky, if you got a laundry check, depending on what year you were in, you got a laundry check on the weekend when we didn't have training table. After a football game or something, they give you a $20 check or something like that. You're like, $20. I like that $20. Right?
Back in the day, yeah.
So I mean, there's a whole lot of things that transpired and went on. After Colorado, going up there and winning those championships back to back, 3 of them, big. You know, then you had guys like I'm gonna throw it in there, 3 of them. You know, but then you know, I had great players. You know, and we played great teams like Texas. You know, and we won. You know, so why did Colorado beat Texas? Them boys up there tell you the same thing y'all will say. Sure. Dog had us ready. He had us ready. He had us mentally ready. He had us physically ready. You know, he had us anaerobically ready. We were ready to play whomever. It don't make a damn difference if we play the Denver Broncos. I don't care. You know, whoever that opponent is on the other side of the field, we take the names off their jersey and stuff, and we do what it takes to win. You know, and what we have to do is understand that every single practice, every single workout is going towards that goal of winning. It's not going just to, you know, make you better as an individual. You're getting better as an individual to make us better as a team. And then the other things I incorporated with you guys are team motivated exercises, which means there's competition. We're competing. I don't care if we're doing wheelbarrow races, if we're flipping tires, you know, if a guy's running down, we got relay races, whatever it is. We're competing. Winners win, losers get the pom-pom, stand on the sideline and shake it for the winners. You know, and that's what you guys have shown me, that the things that you were taught, you do every single day. You know, the things that you were taught, you go after it. I mean, Alex, what you doing, you know, the different things in the state right now, you know, after going and, you know, playing on Super Bowl teams who had people on there that coached you that I coached, you know, which means I'm getting older, you know.
You Fozzy too.
Yeah, Fozzy, same thing.
Yeah,
you know, guys that, you know, I had the ability to coach. As a matter of fact, I taught the House yesterday. You know, House is the strength coach, was the strength coach for you at the Panthers. You know, and all these guys came to clinics, they learned, you know, and I'm blessed that I got, I was at 43 years in. You know, so that's a long time. How many of y'all at this table 43?
Only German.
I'm
Only German.
All right.
But dog, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Because when I think about, first of all, a miraculous journey, I'm thinking about 3 back-to-back to Colorado.
I know, you just dropped
jumped
that
out
in
I
there.
know how hard it was for us to grab 1.
Yes.
You know, but I wanna think about taking off that cap and putting on another, because when you were at North Carolina,
Yes.
you were the associate athletics director.
Yeah, that was next. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, responsible for 28 different sports, over
Yes.
750 athletes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How do you, that's a lot of plate spinning. How did you balance that as well as continue developing the hundreds of athletes that you did develop in the sport of football?
Yeah, the thousands. But what I'll tell you, Jeremy, what was great was I became an assistant athletic director at Colorado. Okay, and why would they make a strength coach the assistant athletic director? So they can pay him more money.
Yeah, hello.
But also, so I wanted to be an athletic director. And at the time, Bill Moreau knew that, who was our AD. So he put me in situations to be an athletic director.
Right.
So what he did is the same thing that when I went to North Carolina, as you talk about the 750, and you talk about Swafford, John Swafford was his name. He was one that hired me at North Carolina. I went from an assistant athletic director to an associate athletic director. So basically, when we had athletic director meetings and we had meetings with the staffs and that kind of stuff for the different programs, he sat right here. I sat right next to him. So when I first went in the room, I tried to sit over there in the back. And I thought, no, coach, you're right here. You're right here. Because what did I become? I became his no guy. You know, so what's the no guy do is enforce the things that he says. I mean, you know, if you can't practice at this time and you can't do this and the rule says that, that's what you do. You know, so handle that. You know, I mean, but it was a great learning experience being with John Swafford, you know, being at North Carolina and Mac Brown. I mean, Mac Brown made the call. I was at Colorado after we had won 3 back-to-back, and we were playing for another championship, and we ended up going to Arizona and playing out there in their bowl game. And we had a new president come in. Matter of fact, I was on the commission for the presidents. I was on the presidential commission at Colorado, at North Carolina also. And it was a minority commission. So, you know, I was trying to find ways to bring the minority population of the city into the university. You know, so we made a whole lot of strides with that, with a guy by the name of Gordon Gee, who was a phenomenal president, phenomenal president. He can tell you anything about any one of y'all sitting here. He know your mama name, your daddy name, every one of your kids' names. He had a photographic memory. You know, but he treated everybody great. When I met him, I was impressed and told him I was impressed. And he said, I'm impressed by you too, coach. You need to be on my committee. And he put me as the head of the committee. I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, I just met the man. But he understood what he had. You know, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. You know, you look at somebody and say, oh, he's a strength coach. That's the least thing I do. I remember Mac telling y'all, that's the least thing he does. Least thing he does is teach you how to lift a weight. You know, there's a whole lot of things he is teaching you about being a person and being a man and being prepared for this world. You know, I teach you how to, I mean, it's a bunch of y'all up here and you got a lot of teammates who have been in different situations. I teach you how to handle the situation before you go into the situation. Am I right about that? 100%. You know, I talk to you, say, this is what's going to happen, this is how it's going to unfold, and this is how we got to get over it. You know, we're going to be honest, but you're going to get your butt chewed out when you go in there, be ready for it. You know, yes, sir, no, sir, don't you go away from the script. You know, don't you go away from that script. Because you go away from that daggone script, your butt won't be here.
It's going to be bad for you.
Do you, and this is more just me curious than anything. You remember my freshman year, we had one of those meetings and you told me, don't say anything. What'd you say? You said name, position, number. And you told me don't say nothing else. And I couldn't, for whatever reason, I don't think that registered. You
couldn't hold it.
I couldn't. When we left out of there, it didn't go the way I thought it would. And dog leaned over and said, "Nah, I told you, don't say nothing." Right?
And we talking about meetings with Coach Brown, right?
Yeah. And I end up spending a lot more time with Mad Dog prior to workouts than I planned on spending that summer.
A lot of extra disciplinary work, but it was needed because you had to learn when to talk and when not to talk.
Absolutely.
You know, and we all have to do that. You know, because there are times, and I know I'm talking a lot right now, but y'all got me here to talk. You know, bottom line, hell, I sit at the house watching damn TV. I need to be out here, you know, around my guys. This is what I live for. See, what y'all don't understand is I stayed in Austin to be around y'all. Okay? There's a whole lot of other opportunities. There were different jobs I wanted to be here. I planned on living in Austin, being around y'all. I mean, how DJ know it. I mean, DJ, I'm sitting with DJ at the daggone Hawaii Hula Bowl, the All-Pro Bowl. You know, I'm sitting right there with him and his family, you know, having a good time. You know, Earl Thomas, same thing. I mean, I applaud y'all. I watched y'all grow up as youngsters to be grown-ass men, you know, and what you do with it. I mean, when Fozzy was in the daggone Super Bowl, you know, when y'all were playing to get to the Super Bowl, I broke my damn recliner jumping up because you scored that touchdown. You know, because I jumped up, came down, boom, it was gone. You know? But I mean, those are the kind of things, you know, when Jeremy opens the gym here, and not only the gym, because I talked to y'all about stuff for years, getting together, spending time together, you know, combining yourselves and all your money, because you got a powerful board up here of financial guys. You know, it's just like with Derrick. When Derrick got his gym, you know, Derrick was playing. Were you Kansas City then?
Yep.
You're at Kansas City playing linebacker. Yeah. Mad Dog is over there at his gym taking pictures. I'm taking pictures and sending it to him
right.
and telling him, okay, this need to be done. This need to be done here.
Yep.
You know, this guy didn't do this. You know, I mean, I'm not telling on people. I'm trying to tell him how to save his business.
Yeah.
You know, because it was on my way home. I stopped by. I had people go down there to train and watch. You know, and then boom, I was trying to help because that's one of my guys. Yeah. He's like one of my little brothers or my younger brother or whatever. So y'all gotta understand that when you got me, you got my ass for life. Yeah. You know, you think you got it 40 years, as they say when you get signed in, but you got me for life. Now when Jeremy, I called Jeremy sent me them Canes, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
the shoes. Them old sharp ass shoes.
Yeah.
I coached the guy that made the Crocs at Colorado. He didn't know that.
I did not know that.
He didn't know that, okay? So he made the Canes. And I'm like, oh, these are sharp. Yeah. You know, and I picked the phone and called him and said, look, man, how come I don't have a pair of shoes?
Yeah.
You know, and he said, what you mean you don't have a shoe? You know, I told him, and he sent it. He said, a pair for me and my wife. Okay, I wear mine. But when I was so proud, I went to Nebraska to help them get back on the winning trick like they should be. You know, I mean, Nebraska is an old school powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they got some of the greatest facilities you ever want to see. And I was blessed that Rule and Corey Campbell, who's the strength coach, felt good enough about me because I went and helped them at Baylor and helped them win down there, and that they would ask me to come out to Nebraska. So I go out to Nebraska, and when I walk down the hallway of Nebraska, there's nothing but cane shoes all up against the walls from every sport. Yeah. Do you know how proud I was when I saw that? Do you know I did not? I grabbed them coaches. Look here, hey, man. My man made those. Jeremy Hills. Jeremy Hills made those shoes right there. Those shoes y'all buying, that's one of my guys. You know, just to let them understand the magnitude of what y'all done. I mean, you know, I get excited seeing Rod on the daggone radio all the time, listening to him. Then now I see him on TV doing the weekly thing, and so he doing what he should be doing. You know, and folks are following him. So what I'm trying to say is, you know, your Longhorn programs, all the stuff y'all do, I follow you. Yeah. I'm with y'all, even though I ain't standing there with you, I'm with you. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's no different when I watch the guys now. I had, last week I was with Torrey Becton is the new strength coach at Texas.
Yeah, we had him on the show.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
He talks highly of you.
Me.
Yeah.
Hell wrong with you.
Everybody want to hear them.
It's Jeremy.
Hey,
Blame Jeremy.
I'm teasing. I got love for Torrey.
Coach Becton loves you, man. He talks big influence on him.
But that's what I'm trying to. That's what I was getting ready to say next.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that T. Beck. I've watched him since he was in college. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and he emulated, you know, the things that we were doing, and he came through with my man John worked for me, Big John Williams, and he came through with Shep. They worked for me, you know. So those guys all have taught him the explosive power program. I'm in his corner 100%, so don't get it twisted. You know, and I was just teasing him about having him up before me. You know, because I'm older. You should get the old man first. No, but
be first every time.
But T-Beck knows that. I mean, you know, and like I said, we spent time 2 weeks ago. We were in Atlanta, and matter of fact, he was on the committee that gave me one of my awards. You know, but I told him I had pulled him up in front of everybody. I told him how proud I was of him to get these guys back to winning again the way Texas should be winning. Yes, you know, because, you know, he doesn't get enough credit. I don't care what nobody says. It starts downstairs. The bricks and foundation of the whole building starts downstairs. Then it takes it out to the field. Like I told him, I'm glad that he has shown those guys, the hardcore ways to do things, and try to find ways to finish games. So I mean, it's a process. You got to think. Even with us, when we came in here, it was 4-7 when we took the job. You were back then. It was 4-7 here, and we had to teach y'all how to win. And the key is just to be able to get in the mix. You get in that top 25 first, then you got top 20. Then next year you may get top 10. And once you're in the top 10, you got a chance to bang back and forth to try to get to that number 1 position. So and we learn how to do it. All of us up here learn how to do it. And what I like about T Beck is that he's getting them ready. He got them in the was that playoff last year. Then he got them in another playoff this year. And they're this damn close.
They're close.
Y'all know when y'all sprinted and y'all ran, when I turned around to do the other group, some of y'all would be like, that's good. And the line would be down here. Y'all be slowing up right here.
Now listen, we just call it deceleration.
We
got a decel.
You got to decel, but you got to finish.
That's
You got to finish. And that's what makes the difference is finish through the line. You got guys on this end of the line down here will have a hand on the line. Guys on this end down here behind the line, and guys in the middle might have a hand over the line. But it don't count. It doesn't count.
Oak was always in front of the line.
I was behind the line.
But dog, I got another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just from a player development standpoint.
Sure.
Right? Sure. I've been in that field now for over 10 years, and it's not easy.
No, it's not.
But you've developed and this stat blew me away. You developed over 30,000 athletes.
35,000.
Excuse me. 35,000 athletes. I want to know from a player development standpoint, when you think about the guys that truly just stood out from the beginning, what do you notice in those guys that are just head and shoulders above their peers from day one?
Great question.
That's an excellent question. And by different positions, I see different things. I will give you an example. When I'll tell you somebody who I really loved, that was Said B. When Said B came in the weight room during the camp, before he came to Texas, and Said B ran through those, how the mini hurdles on the track. And Said B was down there playing around, and he ran through the mini hurdles, and he changed directions. And I said, well, let's do this. Did the same thing on boom, boom, boom. I moved my hand, and he special. Signing. Whatever you got to do, sign that man. So when you ask about standing out, okay, Ricky Williams. When Rick, which was at that given time was our best recruit, to keep him here, Rick had some things on his mind, because he was a professional baseball player. Right. He had never really done an all season, work, but Ricky was worried, and he'll tell you, he was worried about being embarrassed when he came back to camp because he would be gone in baseball the whole time. Right. So he and I sat down, put a plan together, things to do. We communicated, back and forth, because that's when we first got cell phones. We communicate back and forth about what he was doing and where his progress was. What I liked about it, when he came back, he didn't run with y'all. He didn't run with the team. When he first got back, he spent 2 weeks with me. And I made him that promise because I would not embarrass him. Yeah. Okay, so he and I went out every day, after all the workouts were done. I lifted him and then we ran, and he came back. He did the 1640 test. Once he did the 1640 test and passed it, I said, you're good. You can go. Let's go. You know, he did the survival run. He did all that stuff. You know, he did everything that y'all had by himself.
Yeah, I'm about to say survival run by yourself.
Explain the survival run.
What's the survival run for people that don't know?
They don't know.
Okay, survival run is a nice run.
Nice run.
I can already tell.
Don't sugarcoat it, dog.
You start in the back of the end zone, and you run to the 15, and you're 25, then you go to the 40, then you go to the far 40, then you go to the 20, then you go to the 15, then you go goal line, end line, finish at end line.
And what time do you have to make that?
It ain't like you can relax and do it.
You know, the key to it. The key to it all is I'm in control of the clock.
Yeah.
You know, and being in control of the clock, you know, different size guys run different times.
Right.
You know, and if you notice, when I ran you guys, I usually ran you in 3 different groups. You know, so you had the 250 and up, you know, 250 down to 200, you know, or 220, and then smaller guys up to 220. You know, then sometimes I even have a 4th group in there and just throw the kickers in that group, you know, and let them. And the reason why did I do that? I did that to give you more rest.
Thank
time.
you.
You know what would bother me though, dog? You know what would bother me about that?
What?
Specifically, one of our old teammates, Justin Tucker. Like these specialists get out here, and their body's not feeling like your body, and they get out here sprinting and making these times look easy,
With the skill.
and saying little comments in between, like, "Oh yeah, this ain't that bad at all." And I'm like,
But you
these
know
guys
what,
got to
though?
get beat up a little bit more.
Yeah, but see, here's the other side on J Tuck. I told him to run hard. Okay? If y'all, what you didn't know is you guys had rabbits in every group.
That is true.
You had guys that would set the tempo and the tone in every group.
Fozzy was one.
Right.
I remember.
But and the reason I did that is because that way we had a pace. If everybody got in and like we at this table right now, everybody doing it, and we all on the same, hey, we ain't getting no better.
Yeah.
You know, so the key to make you better is to have somebody push it, and you got to go catch their butts.
Yeah.
If you don't catch them,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's just like remember when we used to have visitors come and want to work out with us, you know, from different schools and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, most of them would die in the warm-up.
Yeah, in the warm-up.
You know, every now and then we get a few that would, you know, make it, you know, through a couple reps. You know, that's on purpose, man. It's on purpose to set the tempo and the tone. Every time we ran a run, and y'all gonna ask me about that, whether it's 21 10s or 22 or 24,
Where did that number come from? 22. Yeah, where did that number come from?
Well, okay, you go 22 because you warm up. You warming up on the first 4 to 6. You know, depending on and the number changes by how y'all perform.
Yeah.
If you get out there and everybody busting that hump, that might go to 18 or it might go to 16.
But dog, for the
if
audience,
we go out there and y'all playing around, it'd be all damn day.
I want to set the stage a little bit because I don't want to. Sometimes we can talk in a football language, right? But talking in a plain language, for people that don't know, what is a 110, and are you, when you're running multiple of them, how long would that take to do?
Okay, here we go. A 110 is a 110-yard sprint.
And real quick, before you get going, why 110 now? Why not just 100? Why not
Says the
just
DJ.
100?
Every day. This the type of stuff that would get us in trouble. So we're gonna start asking
We couldn't
all
ask these questions back in the day.
You can now you
We
can
down
ask.
there, hand on the line. Oh, quick question.
Now you can ask. Now you can ask.
Sir, you have your hand raised.
A 100 is what everybody else ran.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go.
Enough said.
No.
Great answer.
So 110 is what we ran. Sometimes we run 120.
Yep.
But it depends on who. You got to understand, guys. I was the vice president, the president of our strength and conditioning organizations for many, many years. I mean, about a dozen. Okay. Plus, I was on the boards of a whole bunch of other organizations. So I got to hear what everybody else was doing. I got to watch guys speak, you know, and I knew what House ran. I knew what other coaches ran in the NFL, and I knew what it was going to take for us to be better than everybody else. So I took upon myself when I would have say if I had set that we were running 16 110s, and I heard, you know, the Miami coach speak, and Miami used to be a good football team back then, and I heard the Miami coach say that they were going to run 18.
Coach, I remember this. You said that. I remember. Yeah.
And we end up running 20 or 22.
22.
22. You know, and we did.
DJ remembers every detail.
We did that, and when we finished the run, and I pulled y'all in, what did I say, DJ?
DJ was too tired.
Okay, what I said was, you just ran the Miami test. Miami football at that time was.
Yeah, that was it.
It was the standard.
Yeah.
You ran that test,
killed it.
and then what I would say after that is you blew it away.
Yeah, we killed it. Yeah.
You blew it away because you ran more than they ran, and you ran at a better time than they ran. Yeah. So if their linemen were running 22, you ran 18.
Yeah.
You know, if their linebackers were running 16, you ran 14. You know, if their wide receivers and DBs were running 10, 11, you ran 10, 11.
Dog, I'll tell you two things. One, it's clicking for me now, right? Because I'm even thinking about putting myself back in that mindset.
Going through
and I'm thinking to myself, like, what you said earlier in this interview, you said that the confidence came from the work that we were putting in.
Right.
And I'm thinking before we would go out on Saturday, you know, Mac's gonna talk, everybody's gonna talk, but then, you know, when you walk to that smoke, and Dog kind of make his way up to the front.
Oh yeah. You knew when
everything kind of got a little bit. It felt like the whole stadium got quiet.
Yeah.
And then Dog had something to say, and it was usually something along the lines of simply they did not prepare the way you prepared.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know about y'all. I think it's the same. I think I can speak for y'all, but you would go out there on Saturday, and no matter who you were playing, you just did not feel like they put the same work in that you put into this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what. Don't get me wrong. It helped to have a whole bunch of 5-star athletes on the field, but at the same time, it's like you got, you know, top level talent working like walk-ons.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I think that's what, for as long as Texas was special in that era, a lot of it has to do with that.
Let me add on to that too, Dog. Before you respond, I, on top of what Jeremy said, and I'm wearing a Star Wars hat. I just came back from Disney, so I had a blast. But it made me think from an analogy perspective, right? You got good side, and you got the dark side, right? How did you know when to turn the switch on being good side, and then when to turn the switch to say, hey, I need more out you? And it's as a team or as an individual person, taking into account what Jerry Hills just said, how do you put that all together and then get the best out of the teams having to be good cop, bad cops?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you this, you know, and it's something probably that most of y'all didn't know. It's a blessing, okay? And the blessing comes from God. And so the bottom line is every day when I woke up, and I thank God for waking me up, I would ask him to please bless me to say something good that's going to help these young men be the best they could possibly be. Yeah. Every single day of my coaching career. Yeah. Every day. As I was driving in from Round Rock to get to Austin, I'd say it. You know, and so by the time I got there, I already had a plan. You know, it's already written up to what we're going to do, but I also had sudden change.
Yes, Lord.
And y'all know what sudden change is.
For those that don't know,
what sudden change is you can have something that's totally set and perfect and ready for what you want to do that given day, and then it's just like on a football field. When you're playing a game, you could be winning everything good. Next thing you know, they get a fumble and they score. Or next thing you know, you kick off the ball and the guy fumbles the ball in the end zone, they recover the fumble. Now they're up. That's a sudden change.
Yeah.
Okay, a sudden change is when we're down by, which we never worried about. I can tell you that we never worried about. We play a game and we come out and guys doing okay. Then we mess around. We be down by 14. And I start walking them down the sideline. All right, man. All right, now let's go. Let's get this thing going. Then when they get 21, I say, hey, I told y'all that. Let's go. Let's go. And then DJ or C-Red or one of the boys, whoever was given leaders at that time would speak up. All right, man, let's go. And that group would work, and then the offense would work, and all of a sudden the machine would turn on.
Yeah.
And when y'all turn on the machine, we're hard to beat. It's just sometimes it took a while to flip that switch to get that machine. Just like we playing OU, and you turn the switch on. We turn the switch on. We at OU. And next thing, how many yards you rush for? Some old crazy number. Some crazy number.
Kickoff return.
Yeah, I mean, you had a tremendous game. So I mean, it's that kind of stuff with all of us clicking together that made the difference on how we did it. Because I wouldn't say I did everything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say, there's a method to the madness, as I said before. Yeah. And reasons why I did different things and reasons why I changed different things. Now, on the sudden change tip, we have a whole field set up of drills to do, like we do in county fair or something like that, when they, multi-directional changes and all that kind of stuff. And now I'll come out there, we'll walk over there, and I'll say, sudden change. They're like, oh man, what he got today? Park drop. Dang, he lost his mind. Yeah. And then boom, we go over there to the hill right next to it. Yeah. And we start working the hill. And oh my God. And then we always got to finish on the flat surface, so we go right back to the field. And they're like, why did he do that? Why? It's because then the next group come out, we might totally start opposite. We might start on a hill and then go to the drills. I remember that. And then the next group come on, we change it all up. Yeah. Or you might be in one group on Monday and be in a different group on Tuesday. I change it up. Because I wanted you to get a taste of everything, because y'all start thinking y'all was slick.
Yeah, we mastered it.
Y'all start.
We knew better.
I mastered that one. I feel
you don't understand. We in the dorm room together the night before.
I'm
gonna go at 8:00.
Right.
You go at 6:00. Tell me what y'all do.
Exactly.
Right. And that's exactly what was happening. So I saw the change. And I saw, okay, now he in this group here, now he in this group here. His class ain't changed. It's still the same daggone. So I start figuring out, okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you do. You don't want to push them damn sleds. Okay, so what I did was find a way, okay, now what group is he in today? Okay, we're doing sleds in this group. You see what I'm saying? And let's change it up. Because I had to make it right for you guys. You see what I'm saying? In spite of yourselves. Yeah. Trying to get away from it. Now, you might have missed one sled push, but you weren't going to miss one.
You're going to get it in.
I'll say this. One comment, one question. Comment-wise, is I'll tell you, I know all of y'all can attest to this. The night before, you are trying to figure out what you got the next morning.
No question.
And it's nothing worse than mentally preparing yourself for whatever you think is the workout.
It's torture.
Get in there and you're right. Yeah. Only to get out there on that field and hear a sudden change.
And you like, wait a minute.
And this the worst part. The assistants, they got the water. You start seeing that look in their eyes, and they're like, they know what you got now.
Yeah. They feel bad for you.
They feel bad
got pity. They like,
they got the pity in their eyes, and I'm like, wait, tell me how I died.
and the thing about it too, sudden change always came towards the end of the workout.
Oh yeah. You're thinking to yourself, I got 2 more X's and I'm done. I got 2 more X's and I'm done. And actually, sir, no, you're not done at all. But dog, I got a question specifically about the advancement of sports science, right? Okay. What we've seen over, I don't even know, I'd say the last 10 years, maybe the last 5 years have been crazy, but the staff sizes just for D1 program strength and conditioning have just blown up. And then actual science-backed training, just with like everything is data-driven, objective measurements on boards. We're tracking everything from how much you're sweating to how hydrated you are. We got different, we got all kind of stuff. We got all kind of stuff to measure output and input with everything.
You're getting your ass whooped.
Do you think, I was about to say, do you think, I think the easy answer is yes, this stuff helps us program, right? But do you think there's an element of it where it's starting to take away just that dog work that comes from a hard sport like football?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways I'll approach that, and I will get back to your dark and light side too. But to answer your question, the data-driven stuff is very interesting. We didn't have all that. Right. I mean, the bottom line is, I looked at you. If your gut was over your pants, your ass was fat. Then you need to lose some weight. You know, and it made a difference. If you were dying when we were doing sprints after practice, you need extra running.
Right.
You know, so I mean, if you were at the training table and I saw you load up several different times when you should have just went through once, you know, I say, hey, cuz, I would back up off some of them potatoes over there. You know, you can eat another steak, but you need to, you know, quit fooling with the carbs as much. So, I mean, it was different. You know, listening to all the different coaches now and what they're going through, you got a lot of guys that are doing those testings and data testing that never played the game.
Right.
You got a lot of them that are great with computers. Right. Computer can't win no damn football game. I mean, you can if you're on Madden or one of them games y'all play, that stuff y'all play, you know, you can do that. But as far as the grind, as far as the hardcore work, you know, as far as what it takes to defeat your opponent, you know, that's man on man, you know. And what happens, I think, is some of the programs, all they care about is the data. True. You know, and they're driven by the data. You know, what about hitting somebody in the face? You know, what about you know, pushing somebody? What do you get, tush push and all that kind of stuff? What about doing physical stuff? You know, you still got to do the physical hardcore work. You know, is data great? Yes, data is great. Will it help? Yes, it will help. Can you depend on that? No, you cannot just depend on the data. You know, because there's too many guys that, you know, even in the pros now, that have been in soccer, rugby settings, and they bring all their data formulations from different countries, you know, to the United States. And, you know, just like Jeremy, if that was the case, when you got to sprint number 10, they might say you was done.
Right.
You know,
that's a very good example.
You run 10. And he running 20, who we gonna play? You know, who's gonna be better in the fourth quarter? You know, and that's what we all gotta work for now, because now you ain't just got fourth quarter, you got fifth quarters. You know, so you have games that are extended sometimes, and the fact that why do you see so many guys, and Alex, you just came out, why you see so many guys, and Derrick too, why you see so many guys grabbing their damn oxygen after 1 or 2 plays?
Yeah. You gonna blame that on data?
Yeah.
I'm blaming on conditioning.
Conditioning, no.
I'm blaming on general conditioning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If they haven't, you know, because they cut back on everything that y'all were doing. You know, they cut back on when strength coaches can train you. Yeah. They cut back on how many days you can run, or how many days.
Everything is different.
Right.
It's built on data.
But that ain't making the game better.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? And the bottom line is, when you watch these teams, you watch Ohio State. I'm gonna use Ohio. I'm from Ohio. I use Ohio State. You know, you watch them line up and grind. You watch Georgia line up and grind. You watch Texas line up and grind. Yeah. You know, and beat people up. Yeah. That's the damn game. Yeah. The game is football. You know, running the ball, catching the ball, throwing the ball, you know, tackling. All that is football. You ain't sitting up here saying, hold up, cuz, let me check my iPad. I'm going to see if I can do this play right here. No, you go do it. You know, the person that has the iPad makes it, well, you know, your levels are a little high right now. You know, you got to be smart. You know, don't go out tonight. You know, come on, man. Give me the information and let me assess and judge what I can do from that point. You know, the good thing about it is, when you got a kid with sickle cell or sickle cell trait or something like that, you know, it can monitor that person a lot better. Right. If you have somebody that has some kind of medical situation, it can monitor everything. And I think that's tremendous, and it should be used for that. Everything else, I think, and this is my opinion. I mean, I don't care what people think. This is my opinion. Don't get away from what makes you great. Yeah. I mean, it was a point in time where everybody was talking about flexibility, and if you're more flexible, you can play better. If you're more flexible, you can get smacked. I mean, how can you be more flexible? We did martial arts, we did Pilates, we did yoga. Okay, we did everything, but if all you do is stretch, you're going to stretch your butt right out of here. I mean, you ain't going to sit on a championship. You ain't going to sit up on a championship podium. Right.
So, Coach, this is great, man. This is awesome. I'm loving this. Before I even ask this question, it's really from all of us. We really appreciate you. Absolutely. Like your blood, sweat, and tears that you poured into us and serving us as a coach. It was more than a coach, but now what I'm hearing and what the people are hearing, a strength and conditioning coach is not just somebody to help you be faster, stronger, more explosive, but there's a mental muscle that you mature in us. Talk about how to build that up, right? And everybody talk about being physical and whatever, and you just talked about beating somebody up and having that confidence. Talk about the mental part that I don't want to say you played with our mental part, but there were some times where you're like, golly, Coach, like you had a staff that adopted you. Yeah. You talk about Donnie, you talk about Shep, you talk about Tim, all those guys, Bruce, all those guys were, you couldn't get over. You couldn't say, hey, dog ain't watching Shep. I can do it. Like they were all on it. What do you say about that mental muscle that you build to really, that's the foundation of you beating up a team and dominating a team on Saturdays, not just the plays and the scheme and all that stuff, but just being able to say, hey, we are conditioned not only physically, but mentally too.
Derrick, that's a great question. And what I'll tell you is my degree is in sociology and psychology.
Now,
okay.
Yeah.
So I have a better understanding. They didn't have strength and conditioning degrees back when I was coming out of school, and of course I got the PE degree too. So my whole concept is to coach you through your head and through your heart. I know what triggers each one of y'all. To this day, I still know what triggers y'all. I know how you are. I know what your mama put in your mind. I know your brothers, and when what they expect from you, so how can I not know you? You see what I'm saying? I remember you were one of my first linebackers to run a 4.5, and the first day we ran, so my whole concept is I gotta get him in the 4.4. I mean, and just go up and down the line of your mom and how much she loved you. Your brother was right there with you on your recruiting trip, as we go on down, and I had your brother. I had him. He was one of my favorite ones because I saw him do a podcast the other night about his injury. A lady asked him about his injury, how did you get over your injury? And I'm like, that's a good question, but dude, your mama is a prayer warrior. Of course. Your mama believe in God. Your mom got all those ladies together in the church, and they pray for your brother to get better. I told your mom and I told him, all I need from you is to be able to sprint 10 yards. If you can sprint 10 yards, I will make you a pro.
Yeah, he told you. He did. Then Tony got here, put on 50 pounds, moved from tight end to tackle.
Right.
Became an All-American.
That's right. And made the pros. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Played a long time. Because one, God blessed him. Two, God blessed me to bless him because I knew what to do with him and spend the time with him and with his rehab and that kind of stuff because the doctor said he has less than a 1% chance to play. Less than a 1% chance to play. And I asked Doc, I said, does he have a 1% chance to play? He said, yeah, but it's a little bit less than 1%. I'm like, dude, walk. And he came back and he walked. And once he was walking, he started using stairs. You know, he went from the stairs to starting to jog. He went from jogging to sprinting. You know, it's a progression. And Tony was man enough to do it every single day, and he prayed to get the power to do it. And next thing you know, what is he? What was it called? What do he call himself? Tycoon.
Yeah, Tony the Tycoon.
Tony the Tycoon. You know, he's all over the internet.
No, we don't got to give him no credit.
I'm giving him credit. I'm giving him credit.
No,
he's Tony the Tycoon after playing tackle for, you know, Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers and all them other teams he played for. He's a great player, but he's a great leader, and he's a great man.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, so I mean, those are the things that, you know, you say you know somebody, you know, that you got to learn from, you know, and everyone. I mean, even, you know, AO and his family and how polished everybody was there, you know, with his family, smart people. You know, I knew it was important for him to be successful. You know, so for each one of y'all, you know, you included. Nah, I ain't gonna get on you.
You old school, man.
Nah, you old school. But you know, I remember, you know, and I don't talk about your audience, but I mean, you had a health scare and a health risk. You know what I'm saying? And you fought it, and you learned how to get through it. You know, and you became extremely successful in what you did, you know, and that's love. I mean, I was sitting on the bus right by you, so I know exactly, you know, what's going on with you, you know, but to do those things and to still overcome any obstacle in your life, you guys have overcome it, you know, and my whole concept is what I did with y'all will help you prepare you to be ready to conquer anything. That anything that comes in front of you, any job, you go compete and try to find a way to win. Anything that somebody puts an obstacle in your face, you're either gonna go through it, you're gonna go over it, you go under it, or you go around it. But you're gonna find a way to get to the other side to take care of yours.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, I know we got to wrap because
I got one more question.
No, does anybody else have anything?
I got one more.
Rod's got to get one in.
I got to get one in. Too.
Yeah. I got my question is this, because obviously you were part of building a culture that ultimately led to a national championship. When you guys first got here, because I was around during that time, what was the biggest challenge to achieving that?
The biggest challenge, Rod, was to have guys were just proud to be at Texas.
At Texas.
Okay, they were proud to wear the uniform and they beat the chest and they go down on 6th Street and had a lot of girls hanging on them and all that kind of stuff. So what it was to get as much pride as they had on their chest and on their back, you know, that they go fight for it on the football field. Because you know as well as I did, to have 4 wins at Texas, 1, it's not acceptable. Right. 2, the talent level was better than what it had been shown on the field. So, you know, getting out there and grinding, you know, you got to think of how many kids left now. I mean, I'd be in trouble right now, you know, because we had about 26 or something like that leave that first off season, if not more. You know, we had some guys that decided this was not for them. And I wasn't there to run guys off. I was there to show them this is how football is going to be from now on.
Sacrifice.
You know, and when the ones that stayed, they played great. The ones that stayed, you know, from, you know, the Roger Rachlers to, you know, all the offensive linemen, Big Lynn and all them boys, that we had a heck of a squad now. And they, you know, they carried Ricky into the Heisman. You know, and those guys, Octavius Bishop, you know, those guys grinded for Texas, and they, love Texas.
Yes, sir.
How many times you say I love Texas?
How
many times you say I love Texas?
Pride and tradition.
Right.
We're not being trusted to the weak on the team.
Right, exactly. But that's all. What you talk about culture, that's the new word, is culture. Yeah. You know, that's all what you said about mind training. Come on now, man. Come on. Every day we had a word. You coming off the line, win. You know, Texas. Strain. You know, strain. I mean, whatever it was, we all did it together. And the pride and winning tradition of Texas Longhorns will not be entrusted to the weak nor the timid. Ever. You know, so you guys, that's grinded inside you. It's grinded inside every other sport. Because if you notice, when football went, every damn body else went too. You know, so and that's true now. That's true but when you have a staff, I had a staff. You know, when you talk about Donnie, great staff member. You know, you talk about Shep, great staff member. Bruce, you know, Cross, all them guys and girls, you know, that worked for me, they went and they did the other sports too. Yeah. And they took the same kind of winning tradition to the other sports. You know, when Sanya Richards stood up there, Ross's wife, and she won the gold medal, she talked about the pride and winning tradition of the Texas Longhorns not being trusted. Come on now, you don't think I was happy about that? You know, you don't think I was happy about that when A. Ross did the same thing when he won the Super Bowl? Yeah, you know, so I mean, people don't understand what's happening behind the scenes to make it a win. You don't just come out there and win on a Saturday. Yeah. You know, it's all the other days you put in there to get it done. Yeah. And the dark side and the light side, you got Jeff and you got Mad Dog.
I love that. Man, that's the perfect insight. I kind of don't want to mess it up, but me and Fozzy have been going back and forth on the show a lot, and I need you to weigh in. I need your opinion to weigh in. What position on the field produces the best athletes? Obviously, Fozzy thinks running backs have the best athletes on the field. I think defensive end has the best athletes.
Really DBs.
I believe that with my heart and my soul. You can toss in DBs with Rod. Obviously, DJ gonna say linebacker, but I need you to pick a. I need you to pick a position, dog.
Preposterous. DJ would not say linebackers. He would.
DJ, you wouldn't.
A sensible guy.
You would.
I would probably say DBs. I would probably say DBs.
Well, let the man.
He's trying to.
Yeah, let the man who has trained 35,000 athletes.
I'll tell you
pick
this.
one.
I'll tell you this. When you look at all the different positions on the field, each one of them is extremely important. Yeah. You can't win a game without any one of them.
Dog, you can't straddle the fence on this one.
I'm not straddling the fence. I'm not straddling the fence because what you think is I may hurt your feelings. It may not be ends, and it may not be running back.
But we know it is.
And when you say Derrick Johnson, phenomenal athlete.
Absolutely.
Okay, when you say Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin. Phenomenal athlete. Absolutely. You know, when you say B-Rob, Brian Robinson, phenomenal athlete.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, not only is he a shot put champion, he's also a defensive end that had a bunch of sacks in the NFL. Yeah. You know, when you say hardcore headbanger and you put in Casey Hampton, beast from sideline to sideline. You know, when you got Sean Rogers, who's a phenomenal defensive tackle, but he also can play center. Yeah. You know, so I mean, you got guys that are in a whole lot of different great positions. I mean, you got, you know, when you talk about the DBs and you talk about all the great DBU, as we call ourselves, you know, you got athletes that are phenomenal. You know, you can't leave out Ricky. You can't leave out Vince Young. Come on now. Help me.
Yeah. He can't carry all the quarterbacks though.
But no. This is what I'm trying. When you talk about phenomenal athletes,
100.
I'll tell you this: I have been blessed to coach a bunch of y'all.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, professional athletes, all pro guys that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, and they're all in different positions. So I can't say which one position produces the best, because in my heart, in my mind, and everything that I've done with the collective, I use that, like that group of them, there we go. Every one of them is phenomenal.
Fair enough.
So DBs.
I heard B-Rob in there.
Coach, we got a Keener back now.
Exactly. There we go.
You got a Keener back. What are you called dog? Come on, man.
Well, Coach,
if I just come fire him up every now and then.
Coach, we appreciate you so much. Thanks so much for coming out, and this was fun, man. I appreciate it. Like I don't even think we got through many of the questions, man.
We good.
But appreciate your time and hook 'em.
Pride and winning tradition of the Texas Longhorns.
Not being trusted to the weak or timid.
Yes, sir.
Fire! Hit! Booyah!
Yeah.